Let's talk about the ideal client. How does one define that and then build their systems around that?
So that's interesting because there's people that I work with who have a very good idea of who that, persona, the core client, the ideal client is. And there's others who they've got a few, and then some who have really no idea. And it can stem from a few things. Your market obviously is going to dictate some of this. So it could be a certain geography. It could be a a recreation. If there's people who want to work in a or live in a golf course. So I know a golf community. That's who my target clients are for both people want to buy, people want to sell. Second homeowners, investors, and people who are buying a home for the first time. So the way that I've kind of do that with my clients is take a look back both last year and the last 5 years if they've been in the market and see who their clients are, and then take another step and say, how have they met these clients? Is it through an introduction? Is it through family members? Is it through past jobs? Is it through your kid's soccer team type thing? So asking all of those questions will kind of help you drill down into your core client. I try to use the word core, not ideal, because it's probably not going to be the one perfect client that you want to repeat enough to have a sustainable business. But you want to be able to target that persona or that type of client, or otherwise it's going to be kind of sporadic and not predictable when you are looking to generate leads and ultimately turn them into buyers or sellers.
Uh, Same here. I've seen a lot of our agents that will build it around their soccer team. Pickleball has been really huge. Agents are making a ton of money on their baseball league, all depending on how they're doing it. And the great part about that is they're actually enjoying their life. They're living their life and they're making money while they're doing it. And it's very authentic. It becomes natural and sustainable. And that's one of the great things. And you had mentioned systems. So systems, that's a wide variety of definitions, right? We can talk systems from tracking your calls to actually technology systems. What are some of the basic, someone that's struggling right now, trying to get through the haze? What is the number one system that they should start working with?
Yeah, the two things that we start with all of my clients, one is the 80-20 rule. So understand that no matter how systematized you are, there's going to be stuff that falls into that 20% that is not going to be the ABC, or it's not going to have a perfect standard operating procedure. So to be able to be flexible and to think of a system as kind of a framework, or this is what I should do 80% or most of the time. So thinking that if you have no process, that, all right, 8 out of 10 times, this is the way it should look. This is what working with the seller looks like from the initial meeting to getting that property sold. So being in that mindset that I've got this blueprint, but it can change and I need to be flexible with the specific situation that's in front of me. Second thing that we do up front is what I've creatively titled the ladle exercise. It's looking at what you love, what you automate, what you delegate, what you limit, and what you eliminate in your business. And some of that stuff will just jump out to you. Some of it's going to say, I don't really automate anything. So what we ultimately want to do out of that is, for the stuff that you love, put that front and center for your business, put that in your mission statement, put that into developing who your core client is. And then once you eliminate, the last two things you want to do kind of upfront when you're building systems is, all right, I've simplified what I'm doing. I've eliminated things that are no longer working or not returning a good value for me. What can I automate? What can I use a technology? What can I use is there a CRM that will help me do some of this stuff? Does it make sense to use an app or some sort of tech? And then lastly is the outsource piece. And that's when people kind of jump too soon, or they might look to, well, I've got a lot of admin work. I hate admin work. Let me hire an assistant. And so you hire somebody, they start working. It's like, well, they're not doing what I need them to do. And they're probably not doing it because you haven't explained it in a way that makes sense to them. Or if you don't know what good administrative work looks like, it's going to be hard for them to model good administrative work if it's not kind of laid out. So that's where we start. And I think that's important for most systems.
Yeah, going back to just your last point on delegating to an assistant or a transaction coordinator, the agent has to have everything documented and ready to go. So when that person comes in, they're looking for someone to train them. That agent, the hiring agent, needs to make sure they have a smooth onboarding system so that new hire can get up. I've seen a lot of agents coming in and they get worried about that they have to have a whole year's worth of salary or if their salary or money to pay for their TC. And what I've been telling them is it's a 90-day program. right? It's every 90 days is what you need to make sure that they're functioning for you. So when you're hiring, there should be a tight 30, 60, 90, so you can evaluate them to make sure that they're going to fit. And I'm sure your agents that are successful at bringing the agents on and doing similar, I mean, bringing their assistants on are doing something similar to that.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I think having the kind of idea of documented of what the work is going to be, and then having that check-in period, regular intervals, 90 days for sure, and then working backwards and frontwards from 30 up to 180 to make sure that there's the support they have and that there is that evaluation to make sure it's a good fit. Absolutely.
There are those people out there, those the operational people that could come into an office, an agent working with an agent, and figure that out because they know systems, they know how it works. As long as it's what the agent wants, that can happen, that can work. That is not the ideal situation though, because you're kind of rolling the dice and making sure it's going to work. Where are you seeing agents getting stuck in the delegation of getting help and delegating their work?
Where you can get stuck, I think a good way to look at it is you're not just delegating the stuff you're not good at, that you don't want to do, stuff that is low value work. That ultimately is what you're going to do is say, what could I be spending where can I get the best return for my time? What should I not be doing or putting time into? But before you do that, as we talked about, you want to make sure you're clear on what that is. And then you've got somebody who's skilled in those things or is willing to learn or to get better. And the easy way to think about this is, I hate cold calling, so I'm going to hire somebody to take care of it so I don't have to worry about it. So the first thing you want to do is cold calling, should that be a piece of your business that you spend? And if the answer is yes, then why do you hate it? Is it that is it a personality thing? Is it that it doesn't return the results that you want? Is it that your value proposition really is not going to land on a cold call and maybe something that you want to evaluate for your whole business? So kind of understanding why you don't like doing it or why you're looking to delegate in the first place. Could it go back to that first thing we talked about? Should you eliminate it or should you maybe cut it back some way and maybe look to put your time somewhere else?
Yeah. Yeah. Looking at going back to what you were saying about having the agent not wanting to do work, and so they hire somebody, that should not be a driver. It should be one of the things you want to get rid of. The driver should be that the agent has so much work that they need the support. It should be driven by dollars. And this is a business. It's not a hobby. It's not something if I'm not going to have fun doing it, I'm not going to do it. It should be driven by the numbers. And hiring that person should allow the agent to do more numbers. It should be an investment where they're going to get 3 to 10x back on it. And I think agents have a hard time of seeing that as an expense, not as an investment.
Absolutely. It's an expense that, you hit the 3 to 10x as far as what you want to look for as a return. It's also the way to grow and scale because any agent will become their own bottleneck at some point, that they're going to have too much in front of them to, if they're selling 10 homes and they want to sell 20, they might be able to, but they're not going to be able to sell 250. So if you want to grow to that point or you run your practice like a business, you're going to have trade-offs. And if the idea is to just multiply the amount of work you do, you're going to need more hands or more people in that business to get that done.
Yeah. Yeah. Understanding the weaknesses is really important, as important as understanding their strengths. So those questions are hard. They're impactful though. Give me an instance where you had an agent that didn't like doing the cold calling or didn't like doing what they felt it was the one thing they should be doing, and they were able to get over that and just break through and just keep digging into it to make sure that and just make it happen.
Yeah, that's a good question. I worked with a client who, going back to cold calling, was something that he is adamant that all of his business came from word of mouth, from Sphere, from people that he knew. And there are some people who can run a successful business that way. They talk to everyone they meet and they become a friend. So there is that. There is no, I need to reach out to people I don't know. But there is a great framework that I think could work for any agent at any level if they're willing to put some concept in. And we went over it. And the initial reaction was, well, that is just cold calling in another way. I don't want to do that. We broke it down. And what it is, I've done classes on this, is simply using or highlighting a listing that if it's yours, it's great. If it's not your listing, you can you've got one that you're going to use here. So that we put into place is there's a listing at your brokerage. It may not be yours, but you go to the listing agent. It's like, hey, I know you've got an open house coming this weekend. Can I help you out with that? Sure, of course. And you come before or after. It's a big house. You can help me, stay upstairs type thing. And on top of that, listing agent, I promise you, I will not rest as the fellow agent in your office until we get a buyer for that property. Okay, great. Thanks for helping me out. So now that I've made this promise to you as a listing agent, I am going to commit to knock on every door in the neighborhood. I'm going to post on, my social 3 times a day, promoting this open house, saying that I've made this promise to this listing agent. I'm going to talk to every buyer or potential buyer. And what this does is when you actually have those conversations is you have something to talk about as opposed to, hey, this property is for sale. I'm selling it. It's, yes, this property is for sale. It's in your neighborhood. Did you know about it? No, you didn't. Okay, well, how about we're thinking about doing a early access for the neighbors. Would you be interested in that? And the reason I'm calling actually, or the reason I'm knocking on your door is I promised the listing agent that I would talk to every single person on this street about the open house. Now you've disarmed them, first of all. I mean, you're still there uninvited, but you're talking about actual real estate. And this leads to actual real estate conversation. And where this went with him is, no, I'm not interested in showing up at your open house, but the initiative that you've shown, could you give me a value of can you estimate the value of my property? I'm thinking about selling. Or my cousin's been trying to get into this neighborhood for weeks. You should give him a call. So you're having actual conversations about real estate, and it's not just, are you interested in buying or selling? You are demonstrating what you will do to get a property sold. So if it's your listing, it's a lot, great, you're selling your listing. If it's not your listing, you want to get listings because that's ultimately where you want to go. You make this promise, you fulfill the promise, and you rinse and repeat. You put it on social, and this is something we did with a client of mine, and it's like absolutely no to cold calling, but he did this process and found that after about, I think it was 3 months, he was getting his own listings from these conversations as people started calling him back. Properties were selling. He had social content. It all kind of builds off each other. That's a long answer, but that's what I thought of right away.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, sometimes it's just so simple when you think about it, and a lot of people can't see it. They just can't see what it is. And I've had some clients that they struggle picking up the phone. They don't like talking on the phone because in their head, they think they're bothering people. And that's usually just in their head, especially with past clients. Not past clients, clients of clients forever, right? So when you have a client that you help buy a home, sell a home, somebody that they know you, they like you, they trust you, close to you, calling up, it's not about pitching them. It's not about talking. It's not about selling them something. It's about being there, getting to understand who they are, what they need, what's going on in their life, and just being part of it, adding value if they need somebody for a new roof or gardener or whatever it is, and just being around and being a resource, but more importantly, being someone that's listening to them. And that's one of the hardest things agents have understanding for many of them.
Yeah. I think the 2 things that you highlight there, the authentic piece, I'm sorry to cut you off. I think being authentic is really important because it helps with those things. It helps those communications, those conversations become more natural because you have something that person wants to talk about. And it is something that you genuinely are interested in. If you're faking it, you're going to pickleball to go get business, that's not going to work. Or if you are dialing that phone because you have to make 50 dials today and then you're just doing it to check that box, that's not going to work either. So you have to be authentic in both showing up and for what you're trying to communicate to that person.
It's hard for a lot of agents that are looking at these bigger agents, or at least bigger agents on social media, or appear to be very successful, and they measure themselves up against that. That is such a showstopper for so many agents because it just gets in their way, and it's not real. It's not who that individual is. You can't take somebody's methodology and mirror it 100% and get the exact same results. It just doesn't work that way. The agent, the people that are selling their system, this is the best way to get it. You're going to make $60,000 in the next 60 days if you follow my system. Those are hard to do. It's that person took however long it took to get to that point, and it's that person's methodology. It works for that person. For somebody now to look at all these people on TikTok or any kind of social media channel, or doing a business in a certain way, to try to emulate that and hold that up as a standard, super difficult. It gets in people's way quite a bit. That gets down to like the questions what are the questions you would ask somebody to help them uncover who they are and where they're going to thrive?
I will answer that, but that's one of my favorite conversations to have. Well, this worked for so and so agent in my market, so I'm just going to repeat it, or I saw this on Instagram, so I'm going to just do the same thing. And I think the dirty secret in kind of coaching and training is that all of these ideas, systems, boot camps, frameworks, they all work to a degree. But what really you have to keep in mind is that even if you duplicate that same thing that guy in your market did 6 months ago, you can't replicate the timing. You can't replicate his fear. You can't replicate what was going on in that moment. So you need to make those any kind of system or any kind of, anything you want to deploy, you have to build it to your business and build it to your personality. So it does take that little tweak. And that's where, to answer the question, that's that we talk about. And a lot of my coaching sessions look a lot like therapy sessions, to go back to what we talked about earlier, where it's like you get to see the things that really bother somebody, the questions I don't have answers to. So we'll get into it. And it's just simply at, looking at how is your business going? Everyone say, oh, business is great. Okay, well, tell me about it. What clients are you working with currently? How did you meet these clients? And as you kind of dig in, it's could be like, well, I guess I didn't realize that all of my clients come from this source, or I have no idea where they come from. I just go show up every day to a desk, pick up a phone, work really hard, and hope for good results. And that scares most people because they want to have a successful real estate business. They want it to be predictable, but they don't necessarily know what kind of steps it takes to have that predictability. So we'll ask questions around that of, where was your past business? Is this something that can be built upon? Is something that can grow? Is it something that we can replicate? Do you know where, again, the time, energy, and money, where are you spending those things? Can we maybe spend less money, spend more time? Can we alter that and get the results that you either had before, if you're no longer having them, or that you're hoping to get in the future?
Yeah. This business is such a mental game. You have to be able to get up in the morning and want to go do it. You have to be energized right from the beginning. And you find that if that agent finds that one thing that they strive and they thrive at, they're going to leave more energized at the end of the day than they were in the beginning, because they're going to be in their zone and they're going to be flowing through the day, and things will just start popping. How do you get them to that point, right? That's the hard part, is getting somebody to shed all those important things that need to get done. And shedding that off to somebody else so that they can solely focus on what's important and what's going to keep them energized throughout the day. And it's not an easy find. And we call ourselves coaches, and because we are, and trained as a coach. And one of the challenges is, and I'm aware of this when we're doing it, I'm going from coach to tactician and trying to help them find and implement and find these processes that are going to work. So there's always this combination of how to uncover what they want to do, and then blending it in with the tactics going to help bring that out, and getting them into fulfilling that and pushing it through. It's a really cool combination. And you were talking about, and we were both talking about selling that one tactic. That's straight up training. This is how you do it. This is what you do. It's not a coaching program. And I think a lot of people get lost in that, and they get sidetracked on what to do, and they feel like that's what they have to do, and it's not inside them, and not making them feel like it's them. It's fake. It's a fake feel. I've been in it. I've been in that situation where I'm doing tasks where good at it, getting it done, it just doesn't feel right. And at some point it peters off. You just can't keep doing it all the time. It's not real if it's not authentic. That is your challenge. My challenge is to uncover that and find it, keep them going. One of the things that I've found, sure you have too, is we can see the potential in somebody more than they can see it in themselves. That realization is hard for us to get over. We want to shake them. You can do this. Can't do it that way though.
No, and it's not only potential, it's the idea of a fresh set of eyes, or somebody who's not in it all the time. And it's funny, the term coach is it's one that I certainly am, and coaching is what I do with my clients 90+% of the time. But it's what we're doing is we're putting a fresh set of eyes onto a problem that they have or something that they're looking to work through, and kind of troubleshooting, solving, getting answers with them, partnering with them to get them to the next step. And I work with coaches because I have problems, I have roadblocks, I have bottlenecks in my business that I can't figure out myself because I'm too deep in it. I see it every day. So my assumptions are, not the same as somebody who's either looking at it for the first time or have a fresh perspective. Like, have you tried this? No, I haven't. That's brilliant. How did you see that? Well, I haven't been thinking about this for the last 6 hours, 6 days, 6 years, whatever you've been looking at this. And that's really the perspective of having somebody work with you. It's that, have you thought of this? One, because I did that, 1 year ago, 2 years ago, 10 years ago. And more importantly, I'm not so deep in it that I can't see the whole forest type thing where you're stuck and just looking at the tree.
Yeah. Yeah. I think everybody has to have a coach, at least for part of what they're doing, whether it's mindset, whether it's speaking, public speaking, or whatever it is. We're not miracle makers. We need, as humans, we need somebody to help guide us through and make us all better. You hear it all the time. Everybody that's successful has at least one coach. There's a lot of reluctance for agents to want to, again, they look at it as an expense, and it should be an investment. It's an investment in themselves. So let's talk about Accomplished𝙍𝙍. And why don't you give a little bit of background on who you are and what you do?
Yeah. So Mike Solitro, I run Accomplished𝙍𝙍. We partner with real estate agents to kind of help them grow or scale, have them have a strategy, a purpose to doing those things, have an operation that kind of is precise or knows where it's going and can be predictable in their monthly, their annual, their production. And then we look at it as having a business that is a legacy or something that's of value to you, not just something you work in all the time. I heard this joke, and it's not funny, but it's like, hey, did you go to so-and-so's real estate party? The real estate agent's like, no, I've never been to a retirement party for real estate agent. Like, exactly. It's like, there needs to be an exit plan. It's not just, I'm going to work on getting listings till the day I die. That is morbid, and it's not what most people want to do. So look at it as like all the things that we talked about. Do you love it? Is this what gets you excited to get out of bed? Is this something you're happy doing? But it's also a business. Can it become profitable for you? Can it become predictable? We help agents do that. We have systems, we have frameworks, we have programs, but we tailor them to each team, to each agent, because that's the only way it works. That's the way that I've found. It doesn't work with everybody. That I've certainly found out over the years that it needs to be a good kind of a personality match for what I do to click. I'm an attorney by background, so I had both the broker hat and the attorney. Massachusetts is an attorney state, so anytime real estate changes hands, there's a closing with an attorney there. And I was thinking about, when you're talking about passion, I had a closing probably about 5 years ago. And it really cements home why I do the things that I do. It was a disaster on all fronts, from paperwork to inspections to getting things done. Things got delayed multiple times. We finally got to that closing table, and I remember it was a husband and wife moving with their kids. It was a late Friday afternoon. We barely got everything done. We submit all the paperwork. The registry is down. So we end up not getting on record, and we now have 2 days ahead of us. And I just like, everything that's gone wrong, the family's planning to move in. We've got an agreement with the seller that they can do this. I was like, what could possibly go wrong? So Saturday morning, I wake up, I shouldn't do this, but I do. I check my email, and I've got an email from 2:35 a.m. from the buyer. I was like, this is it. I was like, house is burnt down. This is the worst possible scenario. It's what else could have gone wrong on it? And it was a thank you email. It was our kids are sleeping in their own bed tonight. Thank you so much for being the one person to push this forward and to getting us to where we needed to be. And that I try to keep in mind with everybody that I work with, clients, real estate agents, buyers, sellers, is that people have problems, people have obstacles, they're working towards something. This is their real life. How can I help them, even if it's just get them someplace a little bit quicker, a little bit easier, for a little less money, make them happy, make them, put them in a better spot, and that I'm doing something that really has an impact. And I try to give that to the people that I work with. So that's what we do here at Accomplished𝙍𝙍.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of agents, we were talking about it earlier, where they want to call people. They feel like they're bothering them. They're so powerful in what they help them do. They've changed people's lives many times, and they're building wealth for their family, giving roof for the kids. That's going to be permanent. There's so many good things that agents do. For someone to say, I don't want to dial, I feel like I'm bothering somebody, they need to look inside and look at what they actually are doing, because it's a pretty phenomenal, it's just powerful what they're doing. And they're changing lives. And it's crazy that they think that they're bothering people, unless they're bothering people and they're not doing it right. And they are pushing and selling and telling and not actually guiding and helping and being curious and understanding their clients. So just don't be that person, right?
That's it. Have value to deliver and be valuable to the person you're talking to, and you kind of avoid that situation. If you don't have that, work on being something that person needs. Otherwise, you probably shouldn't bother them.
Right. Yeah. And then a lot of people will turn to social media. I think that's going to be their path, which for some it's phenomenal. And those are the few. I would contest that that's the few people of all the people that are on the internet crush it out of the gate. They have that on screen, on camera, they just got it. And people can relate whatever it is they're doing, whether it's they're telling their story. And this one woman is telling her story through her pregnancy. She got a license and pregnant all at the same time. And she was on screen talking about everything she was going through, and her business just blew up. She got an audience. So I strongly believe everybody has a niche that they can attract people with if it's authentic and they're real about it.
There's this good quote that, be yourself, everybody else is already taken. And that kind of works for this business better than anything else, because, if you're faking it, or you're not authentic, or you're just trying to model it after the guy who's crushing it, or the woman who sells the most houses in your market, it's not at some point, it's going to hit a wall. It's not real, it's fake. But if you build a business through what your strengths are, what you're comfortable doing, what you can do for others, that's really where you can hit it off.
Yeah. So when an agent's asked, there are several ways to answer this question. Curious how you're going to do it. When someone asks an agent, how's the market? What do you want them to say? What should they be saying?
I like them to be thoughtful. Like I said, I'm a lawyer by background, so my automatic answer is it depends, or to look to ask another question back. I think anybody who's going to tell you it's a buyer's or seller's market immediately probably can't speak at length about what's going on. So if someone's asking you about the market, it's good to find out what their perspective is, why they're asking you, and then specifically what they're asking you about. Because if they're asking, how is the market, ... for me to consider selling my home in this neighborhood to move to this neighborhood, is that a good move? And you can answer that question. Or maybe they're just wondering what's going on in the market. Well, inventory has been down for the third straight quarter type thing. You saw at this price point. So you can answer it intelligently, but I think just having the go-to, it's buyers or sellers market, there's nothing for sale now, or, I live in a seasonal community, so houses don't come on until April 1 type thing. Understanding why they're asking and then answering it a little bit more intelligently than what you see in headlines, I think is the way to go there.
No, absolutely. You're asking that question is key. That you have to understand why they're asking. What part of the many sectors of real estate are they actually concerned about or interested in? Is it investment? Is it selling? Is it buying? Is it a specific neighborhood? Is it luxury? Is it, price point sensitive? What is it that they are actually curious about? So going back to your question, your statement of asking that question is critical. You don't know what you're answering. Same thing happens when you get an objection. When a real estate agent or anybody gets an objection, that objection is it's not a screen. It's just that one statement. What's behind it? What's the reality, right? And that's one of the things that I coach and I train on is asking those questions, because it's important. And having that out of body experience when you sit across the table from a potential client, you have that out of body, hover over the table and see who's talking the most. And if it's the agent, that agent better shut up, stop talking, start asking questions. The client doesn't care about the agent. They care about themselves. They're there for a reason. And the agent's they're just talking. And I've fallen into this, and I've seen agents do it quite a bit, and they don't know. They're not hitting the point because they didn't ask questions. And the agent, they're just talking about themselves or something that's irrelevant to the consumer.
I just want to quickly just give a shout out to an agent that's I'm on Cape Cod, Massachusetts. You formerly of Cape Cod. There's an agent in our market, Danny Griffin, who does that better than anybody I've heard. That the agent, you're the guide. That is your job. You are not the hero of this story. Your client is the hero. You are the guy to take them here. So if you are the one always talking, or you are the one front and center, wrong. You're the guy to get them to where they want to go. He does a great job on communicating that. I want to shout him out there.
Yeah, that's the game. You're not a salesperson. That's the most incorrect that an agent should be using. They're consultants, they're guides. They're there to help people get what they want. You're not selling a piece of property, or it's all about getting them to the goals that they want, which is you. So let's talk about Accomplished𝙍𝙀. Let people know where they can find you and what you're offering and how your program works.
Yeah, Accomplished𝙍𝙀.com is probably the easiest place. We're on YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram as well. We've got 3 offerings that make sense for most agents. We have a school community that is free, no cost. Admittedly, I'm still figuring out the best way to run it. So come on in and help me make it a better place for everybody that's in there. We do engagements, coaching programs, and I also am affiliated with eXp Realty, so I partner with real estate agents there as well. So 3 ways we work with real estate folks.
That's great. And how do people want to get in touch with you? How do they do that?
Mike at Accomplished𝙍𝙀.com is my email. Available, like I said, on most social, and Accomplished𝙍𝙀.com. You can message me directly there as well.
Cool. Well, everything's down below. If you're liking this show, please subscribe and continue to watch. We bring on talented agents, coaches, technology experts onto the show, and always trying to bring the best and the freshest ideas to you as an audience. Mike, before we go, you've been in this business a while. What would you have done different in the beginning?
I actually was thinking about this recently because I was going through some old videos, and you just hit on it, that I was adamant. I mean, I fell into a real estate career, so I won't get into the backstory, but I was adamant that I'm not a salesperson. I'm not good at sales, blah, blah, blah. But flipping that to understanding that no matter what, thinking of, you are looking to convince, you're looking to build a coalition, you're looking to sell something to somebody else. It's like, you just need to get rid of that. If you have a negative way of thinking of the term sell, you're going to always kind of run away from it. But if you look at what I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to help others. I'm trying to bring people together to make a deal. So having that idea that is front and center for almost any worthwhile career that you're going to have, you are going to try to bring 2 parties who may not have a lot in common, try to get them to come to an agreement. You might have somebody who might be your perfect client, but you find out they're pretty difficult to work with when a certain situation comes. How am I going to handle this? They still turn out well. So I think telling myself, my younger self, that you don't have all the answers. 1, be open and understand that, sales is not a dirty thing. It's not a dirty word. You don't want to be that typical salesperson in your mind if that's something that's negative to you. But what you want to do is you want to be okay with demonstrating what you can do for somebody else that nobody in your field, real estate or not, what they can't do, and that only you can deliver for them.
Good. Words to live by. Mike, thanks so much. Accomplished. Check it out online. Be best. Have fun.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it.